what do you think is one of the major threats now that could be so disruptive for the financial sector that nobody will trust this sector anymore? If there is one sort of threat like that. Can you continue?
I would say AI. Like
AI.
I follow what I little bit said before, because quantum we don't know in the future, 1 year, 20 years, we don't know. And the customers are not aware of it and should not be aware of it. It's not the problem of the customers. But like I mentioned before, if I will be misprofiled and I want to get a loan, it will be refused, and the bank will not be able to explain to me why, it's a problem.
So AI first.
Yeah, I also believe that AI could pose a threat if it's not used correctly and if the implementation, as was mentioned before, is not done in a way that actually helps users get better banking services. It might be something that will generate some sort of a mistrust when it comes to all banking stuff.
AI, and?
And AI. So yeah, I would say, but used by bad actors. So there's the misdeployment of AI by banks and making mistakes. But then there's the AI that is used by fraudsters, even just to do the basics. Like if you take the most basic AI, ChatGPT, writing stuff for you, there are no longer spelling mistakes in phishing emails. They look good, they sound good, and then that's before you get into the deep fake conversation.
Yes, okay. I see also AI, but as a tool in the social engineering, because through AI you can reach the people very easy, and this can create a lot of fake information, and with this tool it is very dangerous, and we see also nowadays that this type of attacks can cheat very easily the people.
I don't like that everyone agrees, so I'll change my answer. I think I'll say smart bad actor. It will use all the possible tools and his smartness. These are the main threats. Because if we agree, it's not good.
But everybody is focusing on AI. The question is that we started to focus so much on AI stuff that we might forget some other sort of threats, because we are focusing too much on AI today, which is fine because it's one of the threats, but we have to look also to some other. And because I'm looking to the time, let's think about crisis or what a resilient system is. And for that, if we look, for example, we think about autonomous car. We all agree that an autonomous car should make decisions very, very fast because it's having a human inside and so on and so on. So speed is quite important. Rob, first, what do you think, for example, if we speak about this time compression? Why do you agree that autonomous car has to make decisions so fast? But for example, when we have instant payments, we cannot protect those payments so well. So what is the direction in this area?
So I think the key is that real-time intelligence. If you're bringing in real-time customer experience, you need to back it up with the intelligence to support that decision and that ecosystem. We've seen it in many countries around the world. When they introduce instant payments, fraud goes up because the fraud controls and the fraud community don't necessarily advance at the same pace as the customer adoption of an instant payments. And we are very much in a on-demand generation. People want to do what they want to do now at the first time of asking. They don't want any sort of friction in their way. That's why like Face ID and things have been so widely adopted despite global concerns over data privacy, as an example. But to sort of go down into a bit more detail, to enable instant payments and limit the risk, you need to go into your intelligence gathering tools, and it's not just the device you're using, your geolocation, or even your behavioral biometrics and how you hold your phone or how you type. It's not all about the authenticator that you use to authenticate the transaction either. You've got to combine it all together, and then when you overlay kind of a network analysis of the payment, so for example, who they're paying, that might be a really good account, but that good account may also be 2 steps away in the network from a mule account, and they share certain data attributes. So it's not always just looking about the intelligence you can gather from the person making the payment and how they're making it and where they're making it, but look who they're paying and look what is associated with that entity. Is it in a different country? Does that digital identity do something different, or does it share a phone number or an email address with another mule account, which is 2 steps away, which was then associated with a fraud? And it just brings that little bit of risk in, then for fraud teams to make hopefully smarter decisions, less false positives, trust better, or the good payments. So yeah, it's a really comprehensive suite of intelligence with a very real-time decision.
So actually, we are looking to patterns anyway. So we are dependent somehow on the accuracy of AI models, ML models. So based on what we've seen today, we don't have qualitative, let's say, accuracy of AI systems for real data, not synthetic data. What do you think, Amnon, about the accuracy of AI? Can this accuracy help us to automate the response to cyber attacks in such a way to make practically self-responding mechanisms?
Yes, I think it can help, but we have to control the data that is entering, AI is using. We cannot control much how the operation of the AI, because as I mentioned before, we don't understand enough, but we can control the input. This we should control. This is one thing. Second thing that relates to what was mentioned before, to mitigate fraud and any other attacks or possible attacks. This is something the digital currency can bring. Money should be either with the payer or the payee, not anywhere else. If I send money now, countries that do not have instant payment, it can take 3 days. Where is the money in the 3 days? I'm not talking about that someone is making interest out of the money, but I lose control. It's not in my account, not in your account. It should not be this way. Money should be here or here. Okay, if it's money against some deal or against contract, it could be by intermediator, but not person, not an institute, on a ledger, for example. But we should know where it is. And it is, as long as it is more exposed, can mitigate threats and frauds and everything. Also against AI. And we can use AI to detect where the money is, on the other hand.
Yes, Vlad, if you have, for example, a lot of money. A lot of money, yes. But also you have, besides money, something like 3-4 companies in the supply chain of your organization. And you have a cyber attack. How can you ensure as an organization, because you have contact with a lot of clients, to have a fast response to cyber crisis? Because you rely on somebody that relies on somebody and relies on somebody. So you cannot see too much in the supply chain.
Yes, well, if you think about it, and since we're at a banking forum, basically when we're talking about cybersecurity, the first thing that we're talking about is policies, procedures, organizational and technical measures that ensure cybersecurity resilience. This is the way in which the banking and financial services industry works, and it works like this for a reason. Basically, when things bad happen, you need to be prepared and you need to have an accurate response plan for those cyber attacks. And this is why a lot of drills are being done, a lot of auditing, a lot of checking in order to make sure that if something bad happens, the financial institution is secure and that it can function properly despite that attack. However, since we're talking about threat actors and since threat actors have become a thing in the past years, at the end of the day, they tend to work more or less like a business because they're not doing nasty things because they want to do that out of passion or something like that. They just want to make money. And since we're talking about supply chain attacks, these types of attacks, I believe, will become even more prevalent in the industry of threat actors, because it's easier to attack one supplier that has access to, I don't know, 10 other financial institutions, because this way they will be able to have a lot more penetration, if I can call it that, and this will probably maximize the revenues. So indeed, supply chain attacks are something to be aware of, because typically institutions, not just financial ones, but the whole economy doesn't really think about issues that can be generated by third parties, but NIS2 is coming in force soon, and this is a big thing when it comes to the NIS2 legislation. Be aware of your suppliers, control the way in which they act, and make sure that their cybersecurity resilience is as good as your cybersecurity resilience as a client of those third parties. So indeed, it's something to be really aware of, and most likely in future years we will be trying to be more aware of what's going on around us.
You mentioned NIS2, we have DORA, Digital Operational
Also
Resilience
DORA.
Act, we have EU Cyber Resilience Act, EU Cybersecurity Act, we have a lot of regulations already. For us as consultants, it's quite well, okay? But in reality, based on the assessments that I had with financial entities, for example, in Romania, I've seen that if they are compliant, they are somehow the common maturity model from 1 to 5 at level 3. So they are quite in the middle of the cyber resilience. And Mihail, how can we convince an organization that is compliant with NIS2, DORA regulation? It depends on the sector and, of course, of their activities, to move from this compliance mentality to pure cyber resilience, which, of course, is an aspirational point.
Yes, okay, so the term of resilience is more for the critical entities, because in this resilience is more for this type of sectors. And when we discuss about the cybersecurity, in general, for the other sectors, which are, let's say, they are important, but they are, let's say, essential in this way, we discuss about the maturity level, and of course, in this way, we should measure the risk of these entities. So we'll try to implement now the NIS2 directive. We are really close to implement NIS2 directive, and we are now in the final stage to be adopted by the government. And in this law, by implementing the NIS2, we introduce also the supply chain for all the third providers, as Mr. Vladimir Ghita said. But anyway, the idea is that, as you said, when the audits will be made by the auditors to establish the level of maturity and the level of the risk, taking into consideration the impact of that entity has on the market, this will be done. We try to find a solution adopting the SIFAN framework, which is adopted by the Belgian country. We signed this SIFAN framework assessment, and this SIFAN has also some NIST behind. So we try to adopt a common approach with all and other countries to have, because the sectors has all the times, we're discussing about the banking sector, we're discussing about transport sector, we're discussing about 18 sectors, but these sectors has a trans-border impact. So if we don't have a common approach, then we have a problem of not, let's say, implementing a law, but much deeper than to exactly what you said before, to obtain the resilience of that and the maturity in that sector.
Another question, because you mentioned the resilience for critical infrastructure. Resilience means practically to withstand cyber attacks, not only to be secure, but also to withstand, to stay in front of the attacks and to have some sort of operational level that helps you in front of your client. And as a former CISO, I went through different crises. And what I can tell you, the unsecret part of those crises, because we didn't have to report at that time, okay, so we're happy with that, we were happy, is that in the first hour, the CISO doesn't have any clue about what happens in the network, in the systems, with the data, exfiltrated data, and so on and so on. So that's for traditional attacks. Now, if we speak about modern trends, like blockchain, encryption, homomorphic encryption, and something like that, AI, if there is, for example, an attack on the blockchain infrastructure, which is blockchain specific, not traditional, it's an open question. So what do you think the CISO should do in the first hour? Just open question. So it's a totally new sort of attack, like blockchain-oriented attack. What should the CISO do, not technically?
You should install in advance in every system a recovery system. Because we don't know when the attack is, what's the kind of the attack, what will be attacked. So something is being attacked, you need to have an alternative, kick in right away, like a generator in operation room in a hospital. By the way, there is one central bank, I can't mention the name, that asked us to help them to build a quantum recovery program.
So practically, you need to have something to mitigate the impact directly, meaning to have some sort of resilience.
At least the critical protocols will continue working in an alternative solution. By the way, there is also a recommendation by the BIS to central banks and to commercial banks, critical channels to have an alternative solution based on a totally different technology, not on the same technology, because maybe the core of the technology was compromised. So to have something else that maybe the hackers did not work on, maybe they did not hear about, so you can kick in.
Thank you. Mihail, please.
I would say that to don't let the whole responsibility on the CISO and to see a little bit more integrated into the whole ecosystem. And that's why there are need of this type of authorities. And but it's not the, let's say, authority in general, but we try to create also the possibility to have CSIRTs on different sectors. And also, you'll see the directive which will bring now the critical entities in the new perspective of the NIS2 authority. And most of the sectors are the same. But what I want to stress is that the CISO will have to be all the time connected with a new type of CSIRTs, which are specialized in this type of attacks. And of course, in that moment, because it's another, let's say, as you said, it's an incident, it's a significant incident, then the response should be much more aggregated and in a more sophisticated way. So the responsibility of a man or of a team or of, let's say, a platform or CM, SWAR, doesn't matter what type of it, in this type of attack, the answer should be more coordinated and to don't let the attack to integrate into the system.
That's a very good point, Mihail, because as a former CISO, I remember the times when I was in the crisis, and I had a lot of crises. Because I was a CISO, this is why we had a lot of crises. And you are feeling that you are alone in front of the crisis. You had some guy in IT trying to do something, but you are alone because you are in charge. And this is why there is a paradox now. You see on the security workforce reports that there is a need for 4 million people globally, from ICS square, you know, the report, and you need 4 million people in cyber. That's the gap now. But people try. It's not really willing to go into the cyber anymore because of the cyber fatigue, you know, because you are already all the time under the pressure. And the solution for that might be something like team buildings, when you have the CISO and the teams being together, because you need friends when you are a CISO to be connected. And of course, these groups like the banks have the Romanian Bank Association have a CISO working group, the energy, new one, I'm not sure how many other sectors, but they start to appear, and you have something like a direct connection with another CISO, which might be a competitor at company level, but at the level of the cyber incident, yeah, you are together practically, because all banks are targeted, or fintechs and so on. Please, Rob.
I wanted just a new idea that in the future will maybe you heard already about the reserve in cybersecurity. So each country should have a reserve in this cybersecurity, and all the SOCs, the Security Operations Center, should be interconnected to can react much faster in this way.
So I was just going to sort of add, it's really interesting how you speak about the different sectors like sort of travel and banking, and you think of cybersecurity very much financial services, but other industries have a part to play, and regulation is often very different for different industries. But something we found with our customer base, because in our language, a new account opening is a new account. Doesn't matter if it's a gambling account, a bank account, a air miles account. It's still an account where you're putting funds of some kind in there, and a login is a login, and a payment is a payment, whether you're cashing out or funding it. And what we found is some of our financial services customers think that they need to be the most robust, but they have benefited from and also inspired. We've got airline companies, for example, where air miles are money because you can cash them out into retail vouchers now. And they're taking a lot of inspiration from the banking controls and going, well, why haven't we got the same controls? And one of our airline customers actually consider themselves as a bank because of how much money they hold in points. And I think regulation aside, where maybe regulation is slower, we're finding some of the larger gambling firms, travel, like booking companies, they are taking inspiration from financial services to try and up their game and hit those standards. So it's interesting to hear the conversation that regulation is almost slower than business objectives. But I agree, you do need that consistency across all sectors and have regulators pull them together in coordinated reporting and data sharing. But yeah, just thought I'd share that.
Yes, absolutely. The gambling sector, we let's say, we tried and we imagine what should we, if we regulate the gambling sector, and it's a huge sector, but it is very difficult in the same time, because it's another issue as you raised that, and we confronted from the point of the regulation of this of the security provider, and many type of companies from the banking on from the gambling, they take the security provider outside from the European Union. So and now this will be a problematic issue also for Romania, and because in sensitive sectors and in critical entities, the security providers should be established in the European Union. And of course, the maturity and how they will share this maturity, it's very sensitive.
Let's allow Vlad to, because he's a company that provides services, security services. How do you see the maturity level of the companies now, and where should they be today?
I believe that it actually depends on the industry. If we're talking about financial services, they have a good maturity level. Basically, the whole financial services industry, if we're talking insurance and banking, have a good level when it comes to cybersecurity. Not all of them, granted, but at least the big ones. I mean, I'm trying to be positive somehow. Not all of them. Probably the smaller companies still have issues, but I don't think that there is, for example, a bank in Romania right now that doesn't have an antivirus installed and that doesn't have backup. So at least this is in place. By comparison with other types of industries where you don't even have backup, or you have backup, but the backup is saved on the same server as the server on which the application is running.
I've seen this last week.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's something that happens, and I believe that things still need to be, there is a whole lot to be improved also in the public sector, where things are not really in a good direction up until now, but they should be, because we have seen a lot of cyber attacks also going on in the government side. So this is also something to be aware of, not just the industry part, also the public sector needs to keep track of potential threats and try to mitigate them as best they can. Because things have happened, and most likely they will happen in the future if we're not taking care of them. Just to have a joke about your question, if this happens to a CISO, if something bad happens, he should probably go to sleep because it's not his day. So most likely this is the wisest course of action. Try again tomorrow.
CISO will go sleep, okay, waiting for his money to grow, as Amnon said in the previous presentation.
At least someone listened.
Yes, but Amnon, I was looking to your previous speech, and please let us know, because we are here fans of the discussions of quantum, but we don't understand what quantum is actually. We've seen a lot of discussions, like the Chinese guys breaking a big number like 800 trillions, like 50 bits number into prime numbers with RSA algorithm. The other said that they, with only 20 million qubits, will crack in 8 hours RSA algorithm, reverse Shannon Adlemer or something like that. The algorithm used in digital signature and something like that. How ready we are as a society and the financial sector, as an industry, as a sector, for this quantum era today?
Of course, I don't know who
from
is,
a security perspective.
Yeah, of course. I don't know who is ready, who is not, because they even will not tell us. I can tell you there are a few small, medium banks. I cannot mention names, but only very, very few that asked what I mentioned before, to have a different kind of cryptography that is not so famous, so hackers didn't work about it, that will be as a recovery plan, some quantum emergency recovery procedure. This is, philosophically, this is good, because we have to be prepared not only to the past attacks, because we hear that the banks are protected, firewalls and antivirus and all the past attacks, but we have to be prepared of something that we cannot imagine. That is why I brought the example of the dice, of the randomness. We need to do everything that is, first of all, through random. Every digital message, Swift should do through random. Every digital, even it is, even communication message should be based on true randomness. This is, for one, this is easy to do now. And most of the commercial banks, they follow standards. You know, they say, okay, NIST published standard, we follow it. David mentioned before that Apple is using Lattice. Yes, because the American company, NIST published Lattice. They say, okay, we are protected, no one can sue us. But NIST themselves say it does not have mathematical proof. So you need some, how many of them really installed recovery procedure? I don't know. I know of a few those that asked us to help them to install. I guess that only very few.
Anyway, as we will still look to NIST for a while as European Union.
Yes, but maybe they have a backdoor.
Yeah, you
know, yes. President Obama eavesdropped Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, on an encrypted phone. So you can assume that maybe this standard has a backdoor. Maybe yes, maybe not. Don't know. I don't know. But it's possible. This is what I know.
Okay, so let's make a round. Yes. So let's move a little bit to the future. So if we speak now about quantum AI, a lot of new trends or trends that we don't know yet, how dynamic might be, for example, national cybersecurity strategy to keep pace with everything? But short answer, please.
As from the point of view of the National Cybersecurity Directorate, I can say, let's see, and use these words, the Big Bang in this legislation happened in 2016, and now in the period when the constellations appeared, and we are trying to understand now exactly where should we be in this new type of constellations, because as you said before, there are a lot of regulations, and I don't want to rename all of them now. So there are a lot of constellations, a lot of authorities with different type of roles and attributes, and of course, let's say the steps of technology should be. We try to be in the same way with the technology, but it is very difficult to keep the step.
Thank you, Rob. I suppose companies are attacked, so there is something strange in the how the companies are now doing the risk assessment. What should they change?
I think the short answer and the most powerful one is within the realms of regulation and law, share data and share the right data. So when you see bad actors, whether any data attribute associated with that fraud, you feed that back into a network, that network is then leveraged, and you then help each other. And if a fraudster only gets 1 day to use a phone before it's blacklisted, then he's going to run out of phones. It becomes more expensive for him. So data sharing within the realms of regulation.
Thank you. Vlad, shortly, what should the company do today to become resilient, in your perspective?
The first thing is that they should hire the right people in order to be able to do what needs to be done for cybersecurity. I mean, people, in my opinion, are the biggest asset that a company has, and also the hardest asset to obtain, so people.
Thank you. And the last question, we are here to hire, because Vlad said to hire the best people. So, if you want to be hired, just make you known here, make your presence here. So what is the technology to follow in the next years? The last question.
Technology to
watch in the next years by the company.
I think I come back to AI, but on the good aspects of AI. But I have 2 seconds. I want to say I did not know much about Romania financial system. What I learned in these 2 days, I think Romania has a potential to jump over the countries that did some mistakes in the process of digitalization and be a role model maybe for digitalization this continent, because people still use a lot of cash. Because I heard yesterday 60% of people that can get bank account don't want it. So there is, I think, there is an opportunity here to make something good.
Thank you. So
this is what I've learned.
we are humans, we are not AI, so we